I wish you just did like talk to the camera videos where we'd be facing this way.
Facing the same direction?
Yeah, like.
Like at one camera?
Yes. I can just talk about the movie, rant about it.
That's some basic bitch vlog shit.
So you just want to copy Red Letter Media then? That's what you want to do?
How the fuck bad is? They don't make movies like they used to.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Night at the Movies. I'm your host, June. This is Greg.
You're not the host. And tonight we watched Incredibles 2.
Did you wash your hands? With soap? Did you dry them?
What? Is this all vegetables? Who wanted all vegetables?
So when the original Incredibles came out in 2004, it was a really big deal. I don't know if you remember it. Did you see it in theater when it came out?
Yes, I saw it in theater with my whole family. Everyone just called me Violet. That was my experience. Violet for like 2 years straight. That was it. That was my name. I was like 13.
By this point, Pixar had already made a name for itself. People already knew it as the company that kept making hit after breakaway hit. And there was a lot of momentum going into this right from the beginning. From the very first time I saw a teaser trailer in the theater of Mr. Incredible trying to put pants on.
Mr. Incredible, we need your help.
Showtime.
I can't come to dinner. I got the rent. I gotta go. Maybe just a salad.
I was sold immediately before I even knew what the film was about. I mean, they had made Toy Story, probably Toy Story 1 and 2 by now. What else? Ants.
They did.
No, Bug's Life. Bug's Life.
I was about to go off. Fucking Ants. Wasn't Ants about communism?
Their whole first phase of films were masterpieces. Bug's Life, Toy Story, Ratatouille, Incredibles.
Ratatouille was like 2009.
If you know anything about the lore of Pixar, you know that all of their original films, they came up with the premise for all of them at a single like cafe visit, and they wrote them all down in a napkin or something like that. So I consider that first phase.
Okay.
By the time we get to Inside Out, is that what it's called?
The one we
the
didn't
emotions
pay
one?
attention,
Yeah. And The Friendly Dinosaur. That's all phase
Guys.
3. Cars 3 is phase 3. Monsters University is phase 2.
Okay.
And that's when shit started falling apart. You know what? Another thing Pixar was really well known for was innovations. Almost every film they released, they had to invent some new animation innovation that had never been done before. When it got to Incredibles, their biggest challenge was the hair, especially Violet's hair. Trying over and over again to get this like natural flowing hair so that the animators could animate the head moving without having to worry about each individual strand of hair doing the right thing. One of the biggest obstacles that they had with A Bug's Life, or was it?
Ants.
Yeah, I think it was Ants.
No, stop. Ants did not invent anything.
Incredibles 1, the original movie, is one of the best films ever made. It is almost flawless.
We watched it again recently to see if we didn't just have nostalgia goggles on, and it was like really
It was
good.
fucking amazing.
One part was like so tense and scary, the part with the plane.
Mom? Violet! Mayday, mayday! India Gulf 909 is buddy spike! Abort, abort! There are children aboard! Say again, there are children aboard! No!
Oh yeah.
I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
what? I don't
Oh,
remember
yeah.
it being this like
Yeah.
dramatic.
If you own the original movie on DVD and you're wondering if you should upgrade to the Blu-ray, I'm just going to tell you right now, don't do it. The animation is not aged well. Bumping it up to 1080p really highlights all of the flaws. The skin looks plasticky and shiny, especially in the scenes when it's wet. That wet hair looks good.
It's like fucking Rat Boy genius levels of animation.
I love potato conversations.
Like the animation is still
Before
good.
its time, it was really good.
I don't know why you needed to.
I was excited
I don't know why you needed to interrupt me to say
I'm
that.
excited to say things.
For its time, it was unbelievable. It looks like a couple of the shots they farmed out to a sweatshop in China or something. There's one shot that's super Shrekky when they're in the missile silo, and Mr. Incredible literally goes like that, like fucking Shrek. Pixar didn't animate that. Please tell me Pixar didn't animate that.
How old were you when it came out?
We've been over this. I was 20.
Oh yes, we have been.
We've been over this in our VidCon vlog.
You want me to tell us? Oh my god. Okay, so when he was younger, Elastigirl.
Okay, there was this one scene when she's in the evil lair and she's trying to stretch from one door to another, and they keep closing.
Yeah.
Watch that scene all day.
It did something to him. It did something. Wait, how old were you when this came out? Because I'm thinking you're like a kid.
20-something.
Oh, it's not cute anymore. We have been over this. I thought that he was like a child when it came out, so I thought it was like a cute crush. No, the man was 20 years old. Miss Incredible does have that ass, though.
June!
Oh, hello.
Yeah, June gave me this for my birthday.
I thought it was gonna be a cute thing.
Oh, and it's come in handy.
Excuse me?
There was a lot of levels that I enjoyed the film on. It was a family film in every sense of the word. The film is literally about family. A man that's past his prime, that's trying to recapture his youth, basically going through a midlife crisis. Then there's like James Bond spy stuff. It's all 60s themed. It's sort of like the 1960s, but like an idealized, futuristic 1960s. The aesthetic was beautiful. The character models were amazing.
I said, amazing art. I love the 1960s aesthetic. But then I have, what year is it?
It is a little ambiguous.
Lots of things are very today, yet some things are 60s. The aesthetic.
Everything's
very-
1960s.
And then I have Obama limo driver, but I just
No,
kind
we
of
can skip
irrelevant.
that. We can skip that.
At the time, I think this was the first Pixar film with humans
Yeah,
as the
I think
characters.
so. It was the first one that had humans in it that the humans didn't look like nightmare fuel.
Oh yeah, oh my god.
You remember the kid that lived next door to Andy in
Fucking
Toy
Sid.
Story?
Well, we have ways of making you talk.
He was as twisted as the toys that he built. Everybody was expecting, once Pixar started going down the sequel road, they started, no pun intended, made Cars 2, then they made Toy Story 3. That was when Pixar really started falling apart. But I think everybody was expecting an Incredibles 2.
Yes.
Considering the success of Incredibles and how iconic it is, you know, to their resume and just to superhero film history in general, like, this was a big fucking deal, and it seemed like Pixar just forgot about it. You know, maybe that had something to do with Disney taking over, because, you know, there was a lot that Disney forced Pixar to do when Disney bought Pixar.
That was Disney Pixar too, though. Disney and Pixar were always a thing together.
No.
Yes.
No, Disney didn't own Pixar.
Okay.
They had a business agreement.
Okay.
And now Disney straight up owns Pixar.
Well, all the things I know were Disney Pixar.
They weren't owned by Disney.
We're gonna fight.
Write in the comment section below if Disney already owned Pixar.
Toys.
One of the things Disney wanted them to do was kind of make sequels, because sequels are instant cash cows. And Pixar pushed against that at first. Contract after contract, Disney took more and more control over Pixar. And now we have Cars 3. Thanks, Disney.
So, are we going to talk about it?
What?
The elephant in the room.
What elephant?
Mom's new job.
It's time to make some wrong things right.
Our theater experience with Incredibles 2 was pretty fucking hilarious. Almost every Pixar movie starts with a short. And usually what those shorts are supposed to do is test the new engine, the new models,
yeah,
the new effects that they've created,
I just remembered.
The short was really clever, actually. It was about a old Chinese woman.
It was cute.
And she was making dumplings, and one of the dumplings comes to life, and she basically lives this dumpling's entire childhood like it's a human being in the course of a single day. The dumpling tries to leave, and she won't let the dumpling leave.
She eats him.
We had a packed theater. of Long Islanders. I love Long Island now. Every single one of you on Long Island is a fucking character. The crowd, like, gasped.
Yeah.
We hear a girl behind us go, "The bitch ate him!" And then the guy next to her went,
What the fuck?
and the whole theater burst out into laughter. Before that, there was this weird,
The weirdest shit ever.
damage control, explain to the audience thing. The creator, as well as the three main actors, all talked to the camera why we should be patient for the next Incredibles, that they're sorry that it took them so long. I'm sorry it took 14 years, but movies take a long time to make, guys. You've made 3 Cars movies since then. What are you talking about?
Please do not bullshit us. This movie took like 2 years tops to make.
You're basically telling your audience that you've made the perfect movie.
If a movie takes 14 years to make, better be like,
It better be fucking decent. It better at least have a plot that makes sense and a satisfying ending.
it came off as damage control. I don't know what it was, but they were almost passively aggressively angry. It would be like me coming out and being like, I know you guys waited long for this video, but videos take a long time to make, even though I make a video in like 4 hours.
I mean, you had the theory that they were sort of insulting the audience for
It
complaining.
seemed like that.
If your audience is begging you to make a sequel to something, don't insult them, because the reason they're begging you is because they loved your original so much and they just want another one. It kind of set it up like they made this masterpiece.
Hyped it up.
It hyped up the
Hype.
film way too much. There was a lot of stuff about the film that was better. The first thing I noticed was the graphics were better, the models were better, the textures on the skin.
Texture on the clothes.
The lighting was beautiful. There was all sorts of perfect shading. When we brought it home, to watch it on Blu-ray, even better, like immaculate footage. Night and day difference between the first and the second one.
I said graphics are so good. Everything is just so good. Amazing.
Great. And there were no silly animation mistakes. Lucius walked a little weird, kind of rubbery, like...
He kind of looks rubbery.
The movie picks up right where the last movie left off. The Underminer had just come up to the surface. They're trying to juggle Jack back and forth between the 4 of them because they don't know who's supposed to take responsibility for them. They're sort of disjointed. Obviously, everything they learned about being a team at the end of the first movie, they like completely forgot, and they were sort of all over the place, which is fine. Mr. Incredible uses his powers a little bit. You see him punch through a door, you see him like tackle the big drill and sort of like push it to the side of the road a little bit. Mrs. Incredible, she's got some good shit. There's a little bit of this action going on.
That's why you needed the spoon?
You guys know what I'm talking about.
Duh.
But overall, it was a good sequence. In fact, I would say that every single action scene in this film was amazing. It was sequenced very, very well. Fun, especially Mrs. Incredible, the way that they showed her using her power. I'm really glad that she was actually the main character in this one, because as fun a character as Mr. Incredible was, Mrs. Incredible...
Like, satisfying?
Yeah, Mrs. Incredible is 1,000 times more satisfying to watch. You know those like satisfying videos on YouTube of like people making ice cream
Cutting
or...
soap.
That's what it's like watching Mrs. Incredible. She's fluid and moves like a snake. She lifts her arms and then her whole body goes up and her legs stay, and then her legs follow. And that for like an hour and a half.
It's just cool to
Yeah,
watch.
it's very cool to watch. The fact that they were essentially doing a gender swap of the original movie, I actually thought was a cool idea, because we already explored the what's it like when the midlife crisis dad tries to recapture his youth thing, and they didn't quite do that with this though. They didn't really show Mrs. Incredible have any flaws at all, actually.
Did they? Yeah, no.
All of the "my gut is too big" stuff, they mirrored with her in the first one as well, when she put on the spandex for the first time and looked at her ass. So they did the body image shit already with her. It wasn't the same movie again. There was a lot of it was similar in the superheroes are still illegal, and there's somebody that's secretly trying to get them legal again. So in that way, it's similar. Mrs. Incredible works on her own. Overall, our theater experience was positive. I enjoyed the movie a lot the first time we watched it. And if we had reviewed it immediately, like we usually do,
Yeah,
I
we
would
would
have
have just
said,
been hyped.
I would have said that I loved it, not as good as the first one, but good. The moment I realized that there was something wrong with the film is right when it ended, and the audience applauded, and I didn't. And I didn't feel like it. And then I realized, what's wrong with this film that I think these people are all idiots for applauding it? And then over the period of what, like 4 or 5 days, you and I were talking about it, and we just kept getting more and more angry until I was at a point where I was like yelling at 4 a.m. about how the plot holes like ruin the film and that there's so much wrong with it that it kind of breaks the film a little bit. I'll probably watch it again. There's a lot about the film I like. There's a lot that makes it rewatchable. The action scenes are perfect, like I said. Everything Jack does is amazing.
Jack and the raccoon scene, the man wheezing.
Yeah,
It was animated
brilliant.
so good.
It's so brilliant.
It was very Looney Tune-like, like very old comedy. It was really, really good.
slapsticky. I was busting a gut. Fucking, that was definitely my favorite sequence.
The lighting alone could get like its own Oscar. There were scenes where, like, when she was chasing the train on the motorcycle, it was like orange, and then she went to
it
another
was during a
place,
sunset. Yeah.
and it was like purple, and it was just like so beautiful. Like the explosions, everything was just like, the lighting was crazy good.
Yeah, in the scene when Jack's watching TV, it's a classic shot of TV on one side, Dad on the other, and Jack dead in the middle watching the TV, and the TV's the only light. Every shot made me go, whoa, that's amazing.
A lot of artistic.
It kind of reminds me of back in the heyday of film when directors and cinematographers really wanted to show off shot composition. And that's something that modern films have lost. Even just that scene when Mr. and Mrs. Incredible are in bed talking to each other just looked immaculate.
It looked like it would be a really good like picture book. Like I'm sure there's like some artwork of Incredibles 2.
Help me bring supers back into the sunlight. We need to change people's perceptions about superheroes, and Elastigirl is our best play.
Better than me?
The first act was the best of the three. It was the only one where it seemed like they had their shit together. It seemed like they had a single direction in mind for the film. There was a little bit of fan service, some references to the original film, but most of those sort of served to establish that the family is still the same family and they're still sort of in the same mess. They have a scene where they're eating Chinese food at the motel, which is reminiscent of the leftover night scene from the first film. There was a little bit of cringy feminism shit, but it seemed like they were self-aware about it, because when Mr. Incredible gave Mrs. Incredible his blessing to go ahead and be the superhero like he was in the last film, he jokingly says, "Go do it so that I can do it better." And she hits him, and it's hilarious.
No, like the feminism in this movie was good. It didn't bother me. It was woman power in like a good way,
No.
but there was some cringy.
Yeah, there was some cringy shit.
There was lines that didn't need to be there. We understand that she's a powerful woman. We didn't need the nods. I'm a woman too.
So yeah, the first cringy thing is when Lucius, Mrs. Incredible, and Mr. Incredible go to the billionaire's house for the first time. This billionaire,
Saul Goodman.
they're in like this theater room and he's giving the pitch, talking about what they're going to do, and then they reveal that they have these hidden cameras on their visitor passes, and the woman's like, "Thanks, I made them." And Mrs. Incredible looks at her and goes,
She's like,
"That was fucking cringe." 1960s though, so it's fine.
was it the 1960s though? Was it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, because they
would be in dresses and shit.
can we not get hung up on this?
I'm hung up on it.
It's not real, June. It's not real.
Mrs. Incredible is not real. She has a feel.
The film sort of passes the Bechdel test, sort of.
No, it doesn't. We thought it did.
The women do talk to each other about...
No, but they talk about men.
They do talk to each other about things that aren't about the men, but in that each of those same conversations, they also talk about their male counterparts. But in one of those scenes, they were doing this like unearned, I'm a smart woman conversation back and forth about like, who do you think's more important, the salesman or the inventor? It depends on which one of me you're asking, the cynic or the saint? The cynic. Oh, well, the cynic in me would say. It's like, what is this? Who is this? Mrs. Incredible was never this person before. It's presented like it's a pre-established thing. Mrs. Incredible, like right at the end of the conversation, is like, whoa, wait. He uses signals, right? You should make a thing to track the signal. It took them half the movie to come up with that brilliant plan? Are you fucking kidding me? Believer or cynic, that was it. Yeah, it said that sounds smart, but it literally comes from nowhere. After they have a couple glasses of wine, they're suddenly a philosopher. And then all of a sudden they're both like, boom, at the same time.
It was an established
Like it was an
friendship.
established thing, but have they spent that much time with each other? That was cringe.
Okay, so there's a bunch of feminism in this movie, which is like, fine, whatever.
You have to expect it in modern day movies.
But,
Okay, give that back to me.
but,
No, if anyone's gonna break her, it's gonna be me.
holy fuck! There were opinion pieces on the internet, on theinternet.com, about how this movie was not feminist enough. And it wasn't feminist, it wasn't good enough, not good enough.mp4, because Elastigirl, a character whose physical appearance seemed designed only to fulfill the sexual desires of that nerdy guy that sat behind you. Actually, he sat right next to me, but I digress. Heavily breathing in the cinema. She fails her mission and ends up a helpless damsel in distress, need of rescuing. So that's one reason it's not feminist enough, because Elastigirl's hot. And also she needs help from her family.
The kids save both parents.
Okay. Obviously, the more androgynous female is the brains behind the company. Violet's happiness relies on an uninspiring male character over whom she obsesses. So don't be in love with a man, or else you're not feminist.
That was pretty old world, but you kind of need a love interest in a modern film, and what are they gonna do, give it to Dash? The kid's like 10. When Elastigirl accepts her new mission, puts on her new costume, she walks out to the garage, and they have a surprise for her. It's a motorcycle, and she goes,
A new Elasticycle.
which was kind of a clunky line, but it's supposed to indicate that there used to be an old Elasticycle, which is a retcon because we never saw that in the first one. And Bob says, "You used to ride a bike?" And she says, "I used to have a mohawk. There's a lot of things you don't know about me." You are his wife. You need to tell him this shit. Is that like a modern thing where people just don't tell their significant others important information about their past? I deserve to know if you used to ride a motorcycle, because your entire character moving forward is still informed by the decisions that you made in your youth. I don't want to have 3 kids with a woman if she won't even tell me that she used to ride a motorcycle.
This is some Stefan Manilu ranting right here. Dissecting a movie.
No, be open with your significant other. Don't hide things from them. This is a retcon thing, trying to make her seem more independent. But we already know that about her. She can fly a jet, for Christ's sake. We already know that she's a capable person.
Settle down, are you kidding? I'm at the top of my game. I'm right up there with the big dogs. Girls, come on. Leave the saving the world to the men? I don't think so. I don't think so.
So the main plot is that superheroes are still illegal, but this billionaire in the big city wants to make them legal again. So he invites the family to move into one of his mansions in the city and makes Elastigirl his poster child for the new wave of superheroes. People don't know what you do. People don't see what you do. What they see is the aftermath on the news, and they see you getting arrested. So as far as the public knows, you're bad. So we need to create a new public image, which is the whole theme, basically, of the film. Yet there's very little showing of what the public image is.
yeah.
We only really get a little bit right at the end when everybody's watching the TVs during the climax of the film.
Yeah, we don't really see what like the public thinks of superheroes.
But the only other time we see, Elastigirl's going to the news station to do like an interview, and there's a huge crowd of people there that are cheering her.
Yeah.
So we never get a sense that the public has a bad image of heroes at all. The movie doesn't really hint to the audience that the brother or sister are in any way evil. There's no like immediate suspicion. The characters never look at them like, what's going on? They never seem suspicious with their motives or anything.
But they are like super nice. Like they're overly nice.
Yeah,
they're
way too
overly
nice.
eager. They're like cheery, happy, and that's like, that's a little bit suspicious because like, and also the woman, the fucking short-haired woman, is like super, haha, you're a woman too, women power, am I right? Women, like she's super like that. And the brother is especially like super ass kissy, like he's obsessed with them. He's like, I love superheroes, wow, superheroes, like I'm gonna, and it's just kind of like.
The brother butters her bread a lot. The brother compliments her them all way too much. And it seems over the top. But the movie never hints to you that there's anything suspicious with the brother. It never makes you even for a second suspect that there's something going on with the brother. From like a kid's movie sort of perspective. Maybe from like an adult perspective.
I thought the brother was gonna be the freaking villain.
But what you expect in a film like this is for the film to sort of communicate to you that there's something weird. The sister was just fucking weird. She kept doing this like women power shit. This you can do it on your own. You don't need your husband to help you shit. And Mrs. Incredible was like, yeah. It wasn't like directly you're better than the men, but it is sort of implied that when she says you can do it without the others, without help, she means without the men.
Yeah. So I thought like she was gonna get a huge ego, and then like the end she's gonna be like needing help, and then like they have to work together, and she notices, oh, we're better as a team, not apart. That never happened.
That's what happens in the first film, though. Bob believes that because Mirage has buttered his bread, has built his ego up, he believes that he's hot shit, that nothing can kill him. He's destroyed their robot a bunch of times. He thinks that nothing can stop him. He won't even tell his family what's going on because he's so confident in his abilities. Mrs. Incredible is essentially presented with the same thing, and it's not entirely different the way that her ego is built up too, but the movie forgets to address that later, and she literally learns no lesson. What's her lesson?
There was no, I do need my family to be super. It was just like she kind of, right?
When the family finally does show up at the end to save her, she does this like hug them, oh no, I'm not mad you're here, I'm proud of you, but it's not earned. She literally forgets the family exists for 90% of the movie. She has no interaction with them at all except for Bob once over the phone, right at the beginning after like the first day she's gone. Then after that, it's like her kids don't even exist anymore. And when the kids show up at the end, they ask for her approval to be there instead of their father's. When their father is the one they interact with in the film, he's the one they're close to. Like, why does the mother need to approve their presence there? It didn't make sense to me. It seemed like they just mixed it in there, like they forgot what the rest of the movie was about.
The lady is trying to butter up Elastigirl because she wants that elastic ass. That's what my notes say.
Whoa! I like Mom's new job! Bye, sweetie.
I'll watch the kids, no problem.
That's not the way you're supposed to do it, Dad. They want us to do it this
I don't
way.
know that way. Why would they change math? Math is math.
Okay,
Math
Dad.
is math.
We're officially gonna go into spoilers now. The movie's already on Blu-ray, so if you haven't seen it yet, this is your fault. 3, 2, 1, let's go. The villain makes no fucking sense at all. The villain is fucking broken. The villain's motivation sort of makes sense, but her plan...
It's weak.
I've seen the movie, 3 times now? She literally explains at the beginning of the third act what her plan is, and I still don't fucking understand it. She's trying to use superheroes to let the world know why superheroes are bad. So she concocts this thing where she brainwashes 3 of them to crash a yacht into a city, killing all the politicians who are pro-superhero on it, and then present that to the world like superheroes are now terrorists. This brainwashing is done through them wearing these goggles that feeds a signal directly into their eyes, and as soon as these goggles break, these superheroes have their brain back. We don't really get a strong sense of what the public image is of the superheroes. The only time we see them, the public is cheering the heroes. They seem to love them. So the idea that the public is supposed to believe that a ship full of superheroes all of a sudden turned terrorist, killing hundreds of people, nobody would believe that. And all it takes is for their goggles to break during the ship crash and one of them get off and be like, oh no, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
We were being mind controlled. And then everybody would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense, yeah. I wouldn't have believed that you had done that. How is the public supposed to believe that they would have done that?
Not only that, but do you guys feel this way? So I feel like most modern Disney movies lately have the same villain thing going on. You know what I'm talking about? Since Toy Story 2, the super nice person is actually the bad person. Like, 2 of the Toy Stories, right?
Toy Story 2 and 3 are the same movie.
Out of nowhere, Frozen, the guy was bad. Because there was no villain. No villain throughout the whole entire movie of Frozen, then like the last second, he's a bad guy.
That Frozen thing screams rewrite, because that villain made no sense. That wasn't even a character.
It was like, oh shit, we forgot to add a villain. This guy, that's what it sounds. Freaking Coco. There were so many where it's a twist. The good guy is a bad guy. Like, and it's, like, that's fine, that's a good villain.
Everybody says now that they're missing the era of Disney villains.
Yes.
Back when you used to get Ursula,
A good villain.
Jafar, Scar.
The last good villain was Rapunzel's mom. She was classic Disney villain. She had the songs and the look, and she was evil. She was actually evil.
And she had a simple motivation that made perfect sense.
She didn't just randomly like, oh my fucking god, like this. What was the woman's motivation? I don't like superheroes because my family got shot trying to call one of them.
What happened to their parents was their dad, was like the biggest fan of superheroes ever. He'd always invite them over to his house. He had direct lines to Gazer Beam and one of the others. He was like the biggest PR rep for superheroes at the time. And when heroes became illegal, he had people break into his house, and instead of going immediately to the panic room, he goes to the phones to try to call them. I don't know why he doesn't have these direct lines in his panic room.
That's not even the superhero's fault though. Like,
while he's on the phone trying to reach these superheroes, he gets shot in the fucking back by the burglars. Now, whether or not the heroes showed up, he still would have fucking died. So she thinks that her parents depended too much on heroes and that her brother depends too much on heroes. And she thinks that the whole world depends too much on heroes and it makes them weak. And I get that that must have been a very emotionally scarring instance. But that is an instance of your father's individual stupidity, not knowing that a superhero was slower than the speed of a bullet. A superhero can't travel across a city and get up to your penthouse apartment before a bullet travels across your bedroom. That's not superheroes' fault for that. That's not people depending on superheroes too much. That's one stupid man not knowing that it's smarter to go to the panic room when there's burglars literally inside your house. When it's revealed, though, that the sister is the villain. Up to this point, the sister had been enacting all of her villainous plans through the persona of Screenslaver, which is sort of a clever name. It fits the motif of the film. When Mrs. Incredible finally catches him, it's immediately apparent to the audience that that's not really him, that he's being brainwashed just like Screenslaver brainwashes everyone, and he's just been forced into the role of pretending to be the villain.
What happened?
What's going on? What did I do? What did you guys do to me?
That's right, punk. Blame the system.
I love the scene where she goes to find Screenslaver though. And he's
Oh
like,
yeah.
The voiceover is really spoopy, and then like she goes into the apartment. It's like really scary, and there's like the strobe lights.
And there's
and
like a
everything.
million all-seeing eye images in there.
Yeah.
Illuminati as hell in that scene. But Screenslaver itself, if you try to marry the actions and motivations of Screenslaver with the sister who turns out to be Screenslaver, what Screenslaver does and what the sister wants would never achieve the same goal. The Screenslaver persona actually makes no sense at all. What the sister's motivation is to show the world that the world doesn't need superheroes. Yet Screensaver keeps creating these scenarios that only a superhero could solve. Runaway train going the wrong way down the rail, headed off of a cliff, about to kill everyone on board. The police can't do shit about that, but guess who can? Elastigirl, and she just happens to be there. And why? Because the villain told her to be there. Second time, Screenslaver brainwashes a bunch of people at the news studio when she's there for the interview. This ambassador to whatchamacallit, who's pro superhero, she's on a helicopter, and the brainwashed guy is like, go save the ambassador. She's on the helicopter. So Mrs. Incredible goes off. This is one of the better scenes in the film.
Yeah,
she saves goes from helicopter to helicopter, saves the ambassador, turns into a parachute, drops her down. Great sequence. Again, proving to the world that the world needs superheroes. The third time, Mrs. Incredible tracks him down. This is the scene June was talking about where she fights supposedly Screenslaver in the apartment and beats him. And again, proving that only a superhero could do this. And it was the villain herself that created these scenarios that made Mrs. Incredible look important and built up her public image. Why? To what end? This is what makes me think that there must have been, this is just speculation,
a rewrite,
but there must have been a massive rewrite, because everything that happens in the very beginning of the movie and everything that happens right at the end doesn't seem to flow very well with everything that happens in the middle. In fact, there's a few things, like I said, there's that part where Mrs. Incredible like says, "Oh, I'm glad you're here, kids." That's weird. But there's also the thing where the family has to figure out who takes care of Jack Jack, and they're juggling him between. And the mom's like, "I'm proud of you." But that only happened once, right at the beginning of the film, and then that issue was never really addressed. Like, yeah, the father had to figure out how to control Jack Jack, but the kids had nothing to do with it. The kids never interacted with Jack Jack once during the film in between those two scenes. It was a weird callback, and it was far enough a callback that a kid watching that film might not even remember that the kids had problems with Jack Jack.
The first Incredibles had like one of the best villains ever.
Oh, yeah.
He had a great motivation. You almost like felt it bad for him in a way.
It made total sense though.
Compare that to this movie, and it's very clear that they did not spend 14 years to make this movie. This was a half-ass, last-minute twist villain that was just like lazy.
It seems like they might have had a really good plan in mind. So this is what I thought that they should have done. This is Greg Fleur's version of Incredibles 2, which would have been a far superior film,
Okay,
I assure you.
I'm scared though. Okay.
Okay.
Go on.
First of all,
No.
100% more Mrs. Incredible.
Okay. We're already.
I tell you though, this film really
No.
gave Mrs. Incredible fans their fill. Absolutely. There's so many. The villain is going to be the brother. Everything. Okay, I swear to God that was the original plan.
Let's get all the politicians on the boat.
Yeah.
How are you not the villain?
Yeah, the brother is the one that sets up all the scenarios that would fulfill the villain's need. He puts all the politicians and all the heroes on one spot, on this boat.
Take my house.
Yeah. The whole film would probably be 1,000 times more satisfying if the twist was that the guy who was trying really, really hard to make heroes relevant was the one manufacturing these scenarios. Because the sister doing it makes no sense. Because all of the work that she did had the opposite effect of what she was trying to achieve. The sister, who hated heroes the whole time, and if they were consistent with that and didn't make it like a secret thing that she was hiding the whole time, and like the whole movie she was bitter about heroes, bitter about helping Mrs. Incredible, bitter about having to be nice to her. The whole film, Mrs. Incredible's trying to convince her that heroes are necessary, and then right at the end, you find out, oh no, your brother's the villain, and then the sister has this thing where it's like, you know what, I hate you, but I need your help. And then there's this shot right at the end, the very last thing in the film that you see, is you see the sister getting put in a cruiser, and the brother comes up afterwards and congratulates them.
The fact that you saved me doesn't make you right.
But it does make you alive.
And I'm grateful for that.
Then Violet does something about...
The 1%. Violet all of a sudden turns into Bernie Sanders at the end.
Well, I'm sorry she's rich and will probably get no more than a slap on the wrist.
The brother goes, ha ha ha, I like you, Violet. I see big things for you heroes in the future.
Who knows what the future may bring, but I have a good feeling about all of...
Good feeling. Should we be worried?
I swear to fucking God, if you keep those lines exactly the same, but you physically switch the position of the brother and the sister...
The fact that you saved me doesn't make you right.
But it does make you alive.
And I'm grateful for that.
Well, I'm sorry
He.
she's rich and will probably get no more than a slap on the wrist.
I like you, Violet.
Who knows what the future may bring, but I have a good feeling about all of...
Good feeling. Should we be worried?
What that would show is at the end when they're pushing him in the cop car and defeated him, he's deluded enough to believe that he did the right thing still. That would make that moment a lot more powerful.
I will let it go, the twist villain. I will let it slide off. The thing that I liked the most about Incredibles was the whole family aspect and whatever, and there's a scene in this movie where Violet and her dad bond, and it's really, really sweet and
Oh
nice.
yeah, that is a sweet scene.
Yeah, it's like really cute, and there's a scene where he bonds with Dash, and like scene where with like he's holding like putting Jack to sleep, like he bonds with everybody. But like Miss Incredible barely bonding with anyone.
No, she doesn't at all. There's barely any family interaction. Absentee mother. Absentee mother.
No. When they're all buttering Miss Incredible up, they show her to this room of like really weird outcast superheroes. There's this like fangirl with blue hair, and she's like, "Oh my God, Miss Incredible, you're my hero! Like I was so scared to come out as a superhero." Like it's clearly an allegory for like LGBT people, which is cute.
She barely has any lines. There's a couple times that she talks to Mrs. Incredible. Once at that party, the SJW party, and then there's this other scene where she comes up and is like, Can I talk to you? And Mrs. Incredible says, I can't right now. She goes, okay. That's the only interaction that these two characters have with each other. What made the first film so powerful is that it was about family. It was about the way that the family had to bond with each other and learn to come together at the end. And they kind of fucked that up with this one because the mom has barely any interaction with the kids at all. Violet, especially in the film, has grown up so much. You expect there to be, by the end of this film, this thing where
mom and daughter.
The mom is like, oh my God, you're like an adult now. I trust you. You are important to this family and to me, and you are going to be hot shit in the future. The villain's escaping at the end of the film, and Mrs. Incredible is like the one that decides to go after her. You'd expect her to pick Violet and be like, Violet, I need you. You're the only one that can do this.
Mother-daughter.
Right?
Let's go.
So when that comes up, what happens?
The blue hair girl is the one who teams up with Miss Incredible.
Yeah, Miss Incredible goes, I'm gonna need help. Blue hair girl, come with me. And she goes, okay.
And they like work together and they have this bond and like, who is this
So
person?
what does Violet do for the rest
She's
of the
like-
film? She holds on to Jack and watches Lucius and Bob steer the ship and does nothing for the rest of the film. What does Dash do? Nothing. He stands there and watches Lucius and Bob steer the ship. What does Jack do? Nothing. They had three important characters of the film that were part of the meat of the film that we watched grow up and bond and evolve, and they all of them had character arcs. Even the baby had a character arc. The whole thing with the family, Bob trying to raise the family without the mom, that was a movie on its own.
That was good.
There was almost no connection in the film between what Bob and the kids were doing and what the mom was doing. There was no connection between the two. One circumstance created the other, but they weren't like playing off of each other in any way. They do fight as a family very briefly for like half of an action scene. They're all in the same room punching guys together. The movie doesn't really work up to that. So it's not really satisfying when it happens, because when it happens in the first film, it's literally because they're in a circumstance that they don't want to be in. They're all trapped on this island together, and then the kids have to step up against their parents' wishes, and then the parents are like, oh, we're proud of you, we're glad you did this. But this time it's like the kids are already established as heroes. They're already established as part of the team. So when the end of the film comes and you expect like all of this bonding that they've done, all of this character development they've done to pay off in some big way, and it doesn't. It makes no sense what they do. Instead, she picks blue hair girl because whammon.
They could have did whammon with Violet though.
And I think
and it would have been a better whammon.
Right, and I agree. But we would assume that it's a family thing, and they wanted it to be a woman thing. So they made it another woman so that we wouldn't make the mistake that it's about family.
I think it was a, come out and show your talents and whatever, but it would have been better if maybe that would have happened later on in the movie, like at some point, like fine, but why the
Or
end?
at some point.
Yeah.
At some point during that last action
together.
scene. But why the climax of the film? The climax of the film, she just tosses her kids aside. I'm gonna take this bitch. She said 3 things to me one time, so I trust her.
That was just dumb. Should have been Violet. That was the thing that annoyed me. Should have been Violet. That's it.
It was so unsatisfying. The ending really fucks this movie.
Yeah.
Remember at the beginning of the film when we got to see Mr. Incredible punch a door?
Yeah.
That's the only time we ever see him use his powers. Ever.
No, we see other things. He like holds heavy things and stuff.
Okay,
but I know what you're getting at.
I mean in a way where it's like, wow, only Mr. Incredible could have done that. He fights Underminer immediately after that, and they seem evenly matched. So that's boring. It's like watching 2 normal dudes punch each other. Then there's that scene in the end when he's fighting that guy that crushes things, and the guy's like crushing things around him, and Bob seems completely incapable of pushing the things away.
He's like, can you uncrush?
And then when he finally defeats the Crusher guy and like breaks the goggles off, okay, so I need to get down this hall that you just like crushed a bunch of pipes in. Can you uncrush it for me? No, I can't uncrush. Okay, I can't get to the engine room then. You have super strength. You can uncrush things, you fucking idiot. And if you can't get down that hallway, just step to the next door and punch a hole through the wall.
That was such a weird plot hole.
Instead, he goes to the top deck, which probably takes more time than it would have to punch a hole through the wall to get to the engine room, to go tell everybody, oh yeah, I can't get to the engine room. Punch down until you're in the fucking engine room. You're Mr. Incredible. Punch until you're at the room you need to be in.
It is like 12 a.m.
The opening scene makes me feel like they had this completely different vision for the film.
They hyped it up.
The way that the action scene at the end made a few references to the action scene at the beginning, but there was no connection in between, made me think that there was huge rewrites that completely ignored things that they were planning on exploring throughout the film.
Mr. Incredible has a mental breakdown, and it's really funny and good because he's like this superhero that can do everything, but...
That was brilliant. That was brilliant. Everything with Mr. Incredible up until the very end was amazing. The whole family dynamic thing worked very well for me. It worked way better for me than the Mrs. Incredible story. The villain didn't make sense. That was really frustrating. The hero didn't make sense because the hero had no flaws, never had to learn any lessons. Her only lesson was to not trust every woman. And there's even like an implication that Mrs. Incredible should be able to trust the villain. And the villain's like, why? Because I was nice to you and gave you gadgets? I realize that I'm injecting into the film a little bit, I'm projecting. But the reason I'm doing that is because the film doesn't give me enough to go on. There's no resolution to the thing where the villain boosts Mrs. Incredible's ego. Mrs. Incredible never has to eat humble pie at any point. I mean, she does get captured and put in that ice room or whatever. Anyways, Mrs. Incredible doesn't learn any lessons and she just kicks ass the entire time. The end.
Hello?
Hey, honey.
How are the kids?
Everything's great.
Is she having adolescence?
And Jack.
He's in excellent health.
What would you rate this movie, babe? Comparing to the original. Let's say the
The
original
original's
is 10,
like a
10.
9. The original's
okay.
a 9. See, okay, I have trouble because there's parts that I really, really like, but they're ruined by the A plot.
I give it a 7 out of 10.
Whoa. That's high.
I liked it. I thought the original was a 10. This was a 7.
I'm gonna give it a 5. And I feel like I'm being generous.
Wow.
part of the problem is that the only other film in the universe that we have to compare it to is Incredibles 1. And Incredibles 1 is far superior. It's more satisfying. The villain's motivation
the villain
is better. The villain's plan makes sense. And the twist is not that the nice guy is a villain. The twist is that the nice guy is being employed by the villain. The family element is prominent. The family has a clear crisis. They work it through, and then at the end they come together and work together, and it's satisfying. There's nothing satisfying in this film. There's nothing that happens, except for Jack Jack, there's nothing that happens in this film that is resolved in a satisfying way in the end. And what is Dash's character arc in this? Dash does nothing in this film at all.
Yeah, he's very underused.
Dash babysits Jack Jack.
So I have a question. Do you think now they're just gonna start shitting out Incredibles movies? Now it's gonna be like Incredibles 3 2 years from now? Because in this one they kind of hinted that the Soul guy is gonna be bad because remember, he's like, oh, you superheroes, and
Then Lucius is like, should we be worried about that?
And they were like,
but then
no.
Mr. Incredible laughs.
That's why part of me thinks that it was a bait and switch. Like, look how nice the guy is.
But they've never hinted. Like, the movie doesn't hint in a way that's obvious to the audience that there's any reason to suspect him at all.
Because he's so overly nice, and Disney has been shitting out that, look at the nice person, look at the nice person, they're gonna be evil, look at the nice person, they're gonna be evil.
So this is you thinking that Disney believes that because they're the center of the universe and they do this nice guy twist thing, that if they did a slightly mildly different nice guy twist,
the other nice one,
that people would be like that mind blown by it?
Yes. Remember the one part they're sitting down, they're having their super too big brain for you conversation?
Yes.
And she goes, I know how to get him. And then the sister goes, my brother? And then she's like, no, screenslaver. Was that like the rewrite coming through?
That would have been foreshadowing.
Which it
wasn't.
So was it a rewrite?
Which it wasn't.
Okay.
So it's a pointless line now. They forgot to add a red herring. In fact, the only red herring is that kid that is brainwashed to become the screenslaver for that one action scene. But Mrs. Incredible immediately figures out that he wasn't really the bad guy, because as he's being arrested, he's like, what happened? I don't know what happened. So Mrs. Incredible's like, oh yeah, that's not right. I guess he's not the villain.
Later on, after that big party, she sees the mask and she's like, oh, maybe they're hypnotized through that. That's when she...
Yeah, which is immediately, because that's the very next scene. Jack Jack, cha-cha cookie,
oh, I have that here too.
Nom nom cookie.
Nom nom cookie. Oh, no. Cookie. Wow, okay. That is freaky.
Cha-cha wall cookie.
He's just on this on muscle memory trying to catch Jack Jack as he's floating throughout the house. God, I love that part of the film.
See, it's a good movie.
Okay, you know what?
7 out of 10.
6. I'll give it a 6 then.
Thank you.
Only for...
Cha-cha wall cookie.
No, for the family thing. That completely excludes Mrs. Incredible.
You were just like, you hate her, but also a motherfucker.
I hate how they misused her.
Oh, okay.
The movie forgets that it's about family.
Even fucking Fast and the Furious knows. It's about family.
It's about family.
All I have written down on this page is, hey, remember this from 14 years ago?
There's a little bit of fan service here and there. Most of it just serves to sort of establish that things are the same from the first movie. But there's a couple things that are kind of callbacks. Edna Mold's in the film again, though Edna's not really a character so much as she's a cameo more. You hear Honey yell at Lucius very briefly.
I'll be there ASAP.
Where you going ASAP? You better be back ASAP.
I thought that was perfect because it references the fight that everybody's expecting to happen.
No, but I wanted it to happen.
No, we already got it in the first film. That's the mistake that films make, is when they do something again.
Okay.
It's better to just reference it so that people laugh and be like, I remember that scene. That is one of the best scenes in cinema history. You cannot top that.
You know it's crazy, right? To help my family, I gotta leave it. To fix the law, I gotta break it.
You've got to, so our kids can have that choice.
Thank you, young man.
Does it make you feel emasculated?
No.
Mr. Incredible?
No, because the stay-at-home dad thing's a relevant thing for today. That's a thing that people do today. Bob didn't want to do it. He was essentially forced into that role, and he hated it. He was speaking through his teeth to her when he was talking about how proud he was of her, and that resonated. That is emasculating when that happens, and they didn't play it off like he's happy about it. They played it off like it's a difficult thing for him, because that's true. It would bother me if he was like, oh, I'll be at the stay-at-home dad, I love it. And then the movie just like pretended like that was normal. The only thing that bothered me about Mr. Incredible is how he entirely forgot what his powers were right at the end of the film.
He did the anchor thing. That was...
Yeah, okay. He does steer the ship right at the end.
But when he couldn't uncrush the thing, that was like, what?
So who would you recommend this film to?
Disney, Incredibles fans, anybody. It was good. I liked it. Don't look too into it. Don't get too angry about it. Don't get too angry about it. And then it should be fine.
If you are like a casual fan of the first one, you will definitely enjoy this. I think there's enough in the film that makes it a good standalone film. Like, not a good standalone film, but a functional standalone. Yeah, even then, I hate... Like, these words taste sour in my mouth as I'm saying them out loud.
See,
because
I
there's
liked
so
it a
much
lot
wrong
more
with
than
it.
you did. I think you're looking way too deep into it because you're old and
I'm almost at
cynical.
enjoy. You'll be able to watch this film.
It's good, watch it. Do not let Mr. Grumpy Old Man here.
I'm so mad about it, though. They were in the position to make another empire. Incredibles 1 is so good. And they were in this position to create a true, beautiful, perfect, meaningful sequel that progresses the story forward, that expands the world, that expands the characters, that gives the characters more depth. And instead, they make this confusing thing with a confusing villain, and the fucking hero is unsatisfying.
Baby, yes, the villain sucked. Everything was poop, and it was bad. We get it. It was a fun kids movie. It did its job.
You think a kid would have a better understanding of what the villain's motivation and plan
they would
was?
have fun with the movie.
A kid would never understand.
They would like the
That's the main
raccoon
reason why
scene.
I'm angry about this, is because it's supposed to be a family movie. I think kids would have understood a guy that wants superheroes to be relevant so badly that he creates scenarios that only superheroes can fix, and that he's trying to engineer these scenarios to make the world see superheroes in a bigger light, because that's exactly what was happening.
I thought it was okay.
I'm going back to 5 out of 10.
No.
Good night, everybody.
No.
Thank you for watching. You guys know the drill. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, please consider supporting Armoured Media through Patreon and by buying our merch. The links are in the description.
You were so sexist in this review, by the way.
Good.